wish it was under different circumstances, but it's always good when family and friends come together. I don't much like funerals. And I've instructed my children that when it's my time and I go, that I don't want to do any of this crying and whining and wandering around the church. Let's just have a dance and a party and remember each other with laughter and good times. But I doubt that'll happen. So my assignment was to talk about memories of my mom. And for the last few weeks, it's been actually several months that I kind of had this daydream at times of this time when my mom would be departed from this earth. And I don't know, maybe it'll hit me differently here in the coming weeks, but I'm sad that I'm not going to be able to call my mom and come visit her. But at the same time, I have a perfect assurance that she is still alive and is preparing the other side for when we come there. Now, I'm the youngest of 9 children, and it was, I think, not until I was in junior high, if you can believe that all the pieces were finally put together, and I realized that my older brothers and sisters had a different mom. And I say that to partly kind of give an example of how my mother was and how our family was, that even though my older brothers and sisters may have had a different mother, it didn't matter to her. They were her children. And I can't remember exactly how I did finally figure that part out, but I remember growing up and seeing a picture of a lady that was, I assumed, mother, but she always looked a little different than my mom. And it was in my sister's bedroom, and being a kid, I guess probably fooled myself. I didn't ever take time to figure out what that was all about. And hopefully I didn't show too many signs of surprise when however, I did find it out. The person that was standing there probably thought, I think I told him a secret of some kind. But that's one thing that, as I spoke or texted or emailed my older brothers and sisters and asked them for their different memories, it's kind of an overriding theme that she had stepped in the role of their mother, and they did not know, or feel rather, that they were treated any different than them being her full children. So I want to take just a few different memories from each of their brothers and sisters, and hopefully we'll kind of paint a picture of the mother that we knew. So from Dean, he says, one of my favorite things about Mom was her sense of humor. I don't remember when it started, but for the last several years we've been sending each other cards that had cutting remarks on them for birthdays and other occasions. They were funny, but they always would have a stab at the other guy. She loved it and would always chew me out if I forgot to send one. Several days before she passed away, she was at her home, laying in a hospital bed that had a mattress with air pockets that would fill up with air and then go down. She was complaining that they were uncomfortable. I looked at her and said, maybe it isn't the mattress, but the bubbles on your butt. She giggled and then scowled at me. I love her for many reasons, but that part of her personality will always be special to me. And in another letter, and I guess I should have clarified this, but back in December of 1987, I was on my mission, and for her birthday or Christmas, the siblings got her a statue. So there's some letters that were pulled up from that time that I also want to pull from. And in this one, Dean's a little more serious, but again from Dean it says, as I ponder the purpose of the letter, I want you to know that I will be eternally grateful to you for the place that you have created for yourself in our hearts. No one will ever know how you felt about walking into our lives, but a multitude will know what you have accomplished. We will all remember the first church you made for us and what an expert you've become at making clothes. I'm sure we can all remember times that you were annoyed with us, but they can never overshadow the love and service that you've given us. Every family should know the love of one such as you. And I know that there is one mother in heaven with tears of gratitude for one who cared for her children so diligently and tirelessly. From Dale, most recently, the thing that came to him most quickly, and I don't know if he was hungry at that day or what, but he said that he was always amazed that Mom could, no matter when it was, what time of the month it was, she could prepare a meal out of seemingly nothing out of the fridge or cupboard. So I don't know if you were hungry at that time or why you were bringing that up, but she was very good at that. Dale also states that I love you very much. I only have a few fleeting memories of my first mother, and many, many wonderful memories of my beautiful second mother. You came into my life and showed me all the love and compassion only a real mother could. And I will always love you for that. You are and always will be my mother. So from Dennis, he relates a story just recently of being at my mother's side as she, during the last minutes of her life, she was sitting on one side of the bed or Donna was sitting on one side of the bed and he on the other. And we were talking about how tough it was to see her in that condition and hoping that it could end soon and peacefully. When out of nowhere, her hand came out of her blanket, and she took hold of my hand laying on her bed. I was surprised how firm her grip was for her being in the weakened condition that she was in, and I commented to Donna about it. She held my hand for several minutes, and it was just very special and peaceful. And then she reached across for Donna. She couldn't reach Donna, but Donna reached out and took her hand. And he says that I thought about that for some time and realized that she was comforting Donna and I. Even though she was the one that needed comfort. Diane has many memories of helping her with canning and cooking. If anybody knew my mother, you knew then that during the summer months and the fall, that it was not uncommon to walk into our house and have the smell of different foods being prepared for canning or freezing. And that was always just a fond memory I had, that there was always something good cooking in our house. Diane says, somehow she always made us feel loved, and never did I feel that I was not hers. I remember Dad chasing her around the house and clapping his hands and swatting at her bottom with her, and her running and squealing and laughing. I guess maybe that was a little private. I knew my parents loved each other. I loved it when I was at college and she came to Mother's Week and we went shopping together. I remember telling people that my mother always had so much energy and that I didn't know how she did all the things she did. I am so thankful for her testimony and example of righteous living. Sorry, I didn't get to be so booby on this stuff. Andy, he also has a recent memory that's one of his favorites. And I was surprised as heck too when this took place, but Dennis Debbie and Bill took Mom and Dad over to Hawaii. Andy and Sherry live in Hawaii. And so first of all, getting her on an airplane, I would have liked to have seen that little adventure. I don't know what they drugged her up with to get her on there, but she did not like the thoughts of flying much. But as they got there and we're seeing the different sights, Andy says that when Mom and Dad came to Hawaii to visit, we got them to go out on a glass-bottom boat. I got a little bit queasy when I thought about that. Yes, a real boat to see all the reef fish. Mom even let go of the side rail to lean over and look at the fish 2 or 3 times. But then she would remember that she was in a boat, and she would put her vice grip back on the side rail. And you laugh at that vice grip, but I remember many times being on rides with my parents as a young person, and being on the door side. And my dad, I don't know how he knew all these crazy roads to go on. That it seemed like one side was a cliff, and occasionally the other side was, endless to the bottom. And as we get going on these roads, I just remember Mom's hand would go onto my knee or my shoulder or something, and it would just get tighter and tighter and tighter until I'd be squealing and squirming to get out. And if the road got any more treacherous, then I remember there was always the argument with her yelling at Dad to let her out of the car. She could walk. And I remember her walking many times. Let's see here. And he also says in a previous note to my mother that you have always loved and forgiven me, even when I didn't deserve it. I hope I can always be as good a parent as you have been. And Doyle wrote several pages. There's not a book here. And multiple of the children also said had memories of when she first came into their lives, and obviously I wasn't around, but I remember talking to my grandma a little bit about it, and not that my grandparents on my mom's side were wealthy, but they were okay, doing pretty good. And then when my mom married Dad, and they went to take her to drop her off, evidently it was a new old home that didn't sound like it had much for windows, or insulation was definitely not there, and kind of sounded like a shack to me. And my grandmother, I guess, they brought in her few things and dropped it off, and my grandmother, she's another story in itself, but she basically just couldn't deal with it, and was crying and said, "Come on, Dharma, let's go," and couldn't bear to leave her daughter there. But I know that she immediately warmed that house and brought much needed help and service to those that dwelt there at that time. But it also, many of the things they said talked about how Mom tried to teach them manners. So they must have been a pretty rough hillbilly group living in that house at that time. And she came in and tried to get at least some, elbows off the table and quit saying it ain't, and a few of the more civilized manners were brought into the home, I guess. And that's what I remember too as a young kid. I think our household was pretty rough, because I just remember growing up that most nights ended with sparring in the living room. And I even remember my sister Diane, I just thought everybody boxed, because Diane was in there whipping on toys. Having a free-for-all, and I guess that's how we showed our love to each other, was thump each other a few times. Pump each other. But Doyle talks about that many of the times that Mom tried to get more out of him, to stand tall, to talk correctly, to tuck in his shirt, and be proud of who he was, but not to blow my own horn. He says he also appreciated the patience. I'll just read it in his word. I also appreciate the patience you had with Andy and me as we had our little battles. For those that don't know, Andy and Doyle were the same age, so I can only imagine the dynamics of that coming into life. And for Andy, I mean, we've got a whole bunch of D's, and then there's Andy. My kids, when I taught them that, they're like, why not Dandy? That was one of those hints that, okay, maybe there's some differences here that I'm not aware of. But it sounds like Doyle and Andy would go the rounds occasionally, and he says that she appreciated the patience that she had when Andy and he had their little battles. I think back to the time we knocked over your hutch because we were fighting, and your concern was for our safety and not so much for the hutch. I remember you had to go for a walk to get away, if I remember right. I don't ever remember my mother being angry, or she just, maybe I was spoiled as the youngest child, but the way she disciplined was, I remember this on a couple of occasions, she basically would get my attention and say, wait till your dad gets home. And I would beg her to no, just, break a spoon on my butt or something. Don't let dad come home. But she was a very loving individual, and I think the overall theme that I take from the life of my mother was that we're here to serve each other, and that it's through that service to our fellow man that we draw closer to our Heavenly Father in the ways that we will have to live throughout the eternities to attain eternal life and exaltation in the celestial kingdom. So we're about through here. I know Diane said I could only have like 10 or 15 minutes, but I told her it might take a little longer than that. So Debbie also brings some of the same messages that Diane did. One of her favorite things was that she remembers how proud she was of my mom when we came to Mother's Week at college. I enjoyed that time together so much. You were always there, want it or not, during the confusing 8 years of my troubled first marriage, and I'll forever be indebted to you for not giving up on me. My mother never gave up on anybody. And we heard from Donna already a little bit, but there again, the theme of her memories was that of a person who was always there. Who was always there to support and bring the things into your life that you were in need of at the time. This I thought was funny though, that John wrote a little message that he says, when I inherited a person to do my mending and sewing when I married into the Rogers family. I frequently asked Mom to mend my work pants because my wife didn't really know how to do it. One morning I was getting dressed in a pair of pants that she had just sent back after mending. One leg was split all the way up one side, and the other leg was sewn shut. In one of the pockets was a specially made tab that had printed on it, Inspector 934-5328, which was her telephone number. Yeah, many people didn't know that she had such a good sense of humor. She played many tricks on many people though. This is from Donna also though. It says, your example to me has helped me build so many aspects of my life, especially my testimony of the truthfulness of the gospel. You have so many qualities that I desire to emulate. You are one of the most giving and unselfish individuals I know. You share your talents and your time so often, especially with family. I hope that I will continue to gain wisdom like that you possess, to set priorities in my life as you have. You've always tried to teach what the truly important things in life are. Somehow you seem to exhibit the faith needed to see every situation through. You never give up. And I find a sense of comfort in knowing that you're around to give me strength and advice. Now, at the time I was on my mission, and I read through this, and I had a hard time remembering even writing it, but and to this day I still can't believe that I wrote this as the one thing that I remember from my mom. But it says, many memories come to mind as I think back to lessons which you have taught me. One such memory is an instance of when you used your guiding hand to teach me. We were at church one Sunday, and I didn't want to go in the nursery. Now, I know you probably think there's no way you can remember back to that, but that's how memorable this was. So, as I didn't want to go in the nursery, so you took me into the hall and showed me that it was much less painful to go to the nursery than to the bell. Thank you for always giving me that guiding hand. I have many more memories of my mother. I remember that she had somewhat to do with my career path in life. As growing up, many of you know that boxing was ordinary in our family, and I had aspirations to go far in boxing, not understanding the long-term ramifications of some of those things. But so my mom rarely attended my boxing matches. And as I kind of tallied it up later in life, I realized that I don't think I ever won a fight when she was there. Come to find out that she was always offering prayer in the stands that I would lose and not want to go on in boxing anymore. So I'm guessing that she probably saved me from much head trauma and disappointment in life. But on many of those trips, those became our vacations sometimes. But from a very early age, I remember being, just like I was saying before, sitting beside her in the car, and either we were on a mountain trip or it didn't matter where we were at. At some point, I would get bored with what was going on, looking out the window, and I would start to kind of elbow her a little bit or reach under and poke her in the ribs. And she was playful with it and kind to me for a little while, but then as it would go on and on, how kids just don't know the right time to stop. And I would continue to poke her, and pretty soon she would be laughing and giggling so hard that tears would be streaming down her eyes, and she'd be begging for me to quit. And like I said, kids don't know when to quit, so I would keep on. And then pretty soon Dad would do his laughing, he'd start to grumble, and then it'd always have to reach that point where there was the tone change in my dad's voice, and I'd realize that I'd gone too far. But then my mom would have to wipe tears for the longest time, and I think she loved it. I thought it was painful at the moment, but I think she loved it in the long run. So, but my mother always was there for me. I was also a kind of a sickly kid for a good portion of my youth growing up, and I remember my mom was always there. I do remember at 4 years old getting my tonsils out, and I remember kind of coming out of the anesthesia, and I just remember that my mom would sit there and she would pat my butt as I was laying in the hospital bed, and that was the comfort that I needed. Because as soon as she'd stop, I'd start to cry a little bit, and I think about that, think how the mother's hand on your butt, patting it a few times can make the difference in the world. My mother was, and still is, a very great lady. She's passed from our current state to the next state, and I have no doubt that she's alive and well, and that she's had many fond reunions. With friends and family on the other side. I know that she's there preparing the way for us now. But she probably didn't take any time to relax. She was always an extremely hard worker. And she's caused more than one problem in my marriage at times. I didn't realize this till later in life, but I guess probably not long after graduating and moving out on my own, and the hunger pains were probably hitting my belly, but there wasn't a day in my life where I did not wake up and have my mother send me out the door with some kind of meal. So there's been many debates and arguments in my marriage as to whether that was correct or not. Her life was about service, though. And just the fact that she came into a family of 6 children with a fairly newly widowed man, brought her one son, put it all together and made it work is a testament to her desire to serve others and a desire to do what is right. I will miss my mother here on this earth, but I know that she's at a better place now. And I hope that we can all take from her example and utilize it in our lives. When things get tough, just remember that we have it pretty easy. I leave these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.